Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today I have a special guest, Eilis, and we'll be chatting to Eilis in a second. But I think it's really important to highlight the two things that I think are going to be so beneficial to not only women, but also men in this chat. The first one is having the courage to make the move. And you'll start to realise as I chat to Eilis that she made a massive career change not so long ago. And we'll talk about where she was, where she is now, and what was necessary to make that change. And the second thing we'll be talking about is women's health, because Eilis has actually moved into that space and she's now helping women, and specifically helping women who are perimenopausal, menopausal women, and just unsure of what is the best approach to long-term health. So they're the two major things that we're going to be chatting about today. And I was only saying this to Eilis before we pressed record, I actually went through our Instagram chats yesterday and I've kind of written out a timeline and I want to go through it just because I think it will really highlight the type of person that Eilis is in terms of just doing it, you know, just making that change and fucking going full steam ahead. And I actually was really surprised about the space or the timeline that you had done that in. But I suppose we connected back in, it was August of 2023. So you messaged me and you were saying that you're a 40-year-old woman who started in the gym 13 years ago as, I suppose, a form of therapy. To deal with stuff that you were going through. And you said you had a real interest in it and specifically in women's health. So on the 22nd of August, 2023, you messaged me saying that you want to make a career change and had I any advice for you? And I messaged back. And then it was the 30th of August, right? Yeah. Which is 8 days later. I was like last night going, what the hell? You booked your PT course and I think it's important to say that you were saying you're so excited, but also very nervous.
So nervous.
Shitting yourself.
Yeah.
So that was the 30th of August. Then 30th of August. Then the 6th of October, you'd messaged saying you were 3 weeks into the course and it was, you know, very difficult, very intense. You hadn't studied obviously in years because you were in pharmacy for so long.
Yeah.
That was October. Then on the 8th of November, you messaged saying you just passed all your exams. And it's really important to highlight, you know, you were saying to yourself when you signed up, you know, I'm too old for this. How am I going to be able to do this? All of this self-doubt. And you had messaged me when you had passed your exam saying, I've passed. And, you know, you're never too old to fucking do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that was November. And then that was the 8th of November. And then on the 29th of November, you would message saying that you'd made a big leap and started your own business, that you'd basically opened, a PT boutique kind of gym in your garden. And that is also still, you're absolutely shitting yourself. But that your goal is to specialise in women's health and menopausal health, I suppose. And again, you were just asking for any advice. So we had that back and forward. So that was 22nd of August to the 29th of November. And you're here opening your own business, you know. I did want to say one more thing because this is very important to me as well. It kind of highlights the type of person that you are. On the 20th of December, you messaged me. I had put up a story and what I've been doing for the last couple of years, because I'm in a position to be able to do this, that I, every Christmas, try and help families who maybe can't afford to buy gifts for their kids for Christmas. I help out as much as I can. And I'd put up a story. I only saw this last night, back in 2023, the 20th of December. And I was going through Amazon and I was purchasing presents to send to kids in Ireland, UK, US, or whatever. And you messaged me and you asked, could you send me money to help?
Yeah.
And I just think that highlights the type of person that you are. So as I said to you, Eilis, before I press record, you won't get me to shut up. So welcome to the podcast and thank you so much for being here. If you could maybe start maybe before I got to know you, you know, growing up, you're from Bray, kind of how you got into studying pharmacy and then spending, if I'm correct, 30 years in that profession.
Yeah. So when I got in touch with you, I think you said I was 40. I was 48.
48, sorry, yeah.
So I kind of landed in pharmacy straight out of school. My local pharmacy position came up. One of the women was leaving to have a child. And I just landed in a full-time job and never left. Ended up then studying with that pharmacy, doing the 2-year technician course and stayed there. Now, this pharmacy changed owners within, you know, I think about 3 times while I was there. And I stayed with each owner, just settled into it, had my kids. So I had twin boys who are now 23. And then I went on to have a girl 7 years later. So she's 16 now. So throughout all that, I just stayed in the pharmacy. It was comfortable. They were really good to me around the kids. I dropped my hours to 3 days a week and it was local. When they went to school, I was able to pick up and it all just suited. And 1 year led into the next and next thing you're there 30 bloody years. And so it kind of then went on when my boys were 6. They developed narcolepsy, which is a sleeping disorder. Now, it's chronic. There's no cure for it, but it's not terminal or anything like that. So they live with it. Now, they function very well now with medication, but there was a horrendous time of trying to get them diagnosed. And I was pregnant with Lucy at the time. So that first year of Lucy's life and while I was pregnant with her, a lot of that was spent in hospitals with Sean, my son, first. He developed it first and then Kyle developed it slowly over the next year or so. So throughout that time, I had Lucy in February 2010 and Sean's symptoms start showing late 2009. Trying to get my years right here. So throughout having Lucy, newborn baby, postnatal, I was all over the place, hormones, new baby in the house, and there was something wrong with what I thought at that stage one of my children. Now, it was very sudden. So like, just to put it in context, he was scanned for brain tumours and stuff. They didn't know. And we spent 18 months not knowing. So after my 6-week check, my husband had noticed that there was a couple special in one of the local gyms. And he came in and was like, I see there's a couple special. Would you like to join? And I won't tell you what I said to him. He's lucky to still be with us, let's say. Where am I going to find the time to go to a gym? So he was like, look, it's great value. Why don't you just go and try it? Obviously knew in his heart of hearts that it would do me good. So I went to it with one of my sisters, tried one of their classes and loved it, joined, and it was my saviour in those tough years of the boys getting diagnosed and, you know, getting on medication and learning to cope with it and stuff. The gym saved me. Like I was so close to, it was either like find that or I was going to go on medication to help me because I was that bad. Like one of your children is sick, you have a newborn baby in the house and you have another child who later goes on to develop it. So anyway, the gym was my saviour. It gave me the mental headspace I needed. So it went on from there and the gym has been part of my life since. So fast forward and 2022, I suppose after COVID, I went back to work and kind of was fed up. You know, I was in a rut. It was like I was on automatic pilot in the pharmacy. I wasn't being, you know, it wasn't interesting me really anymore. And I was only kind of filling in time. So began to think I'd really like to do something. So I suppose I've skipped. 2019 was a huge life change for me. My brother passed away while fulfilling his lifelong dream. He summited Mount Everest. Fell on the way back down and was never found. So that changed me entirely as a person, changed my outlook on life, you know, grab life and do what you want to do and make the best of this life. He died living his dream, fulfilling his dream. So really got me thinking then, what are you doing? Do you know, your kids are grown up. You have this time now to go back and do something you might really like to do. So as I said, the gym was a big part of my life, and thought about it. And I was like, I'd love to be a PT. Followed you on social media, and that's when I got in touch with you then. And I have to say, like you were saying, the type of person I was, when you were, I donated and stuff. But for you, who has so many followers on social media, you took the time and you messaged me back very, very quickly. And I was so grateful. Like, you got back to me, one of your many, many followers, straight away, with nothing for you to gain from it, but just to be helpful to me. And I've always been so appreciative of that, because like becoming a PT, all of these courses, it's like looking into a bush. Like, you just don't know where to go or what to do. So, bull by the horns, and I just went for it, because I'm an all or nothing type of person, as you've seen from that timeline. I'd talk myself out of it. I waited too long, so I just went for it, and haven't looked back. Like, I'm loving what I'm doing. Like, it just wish I'd done it sooner. All of this, look, at things happen for a reason, and it happened at the right time. So I suppose at my age, hormonally and everything like that, going through perimenopause myself, I then wanted to concentrate on women's health, because women are amazing.
Yeah.
We go through a lot in life, and I just wanted to have that personal, private gym space at home, and I knew it would be very comfortable for women rather than the big commercial gyms. Like, I did my in-person training on a big commercial gym floor for my qualification, and I was intimidated. And I was a gym goer for all those years. So I can only imagine the women who want to start, who've never set foot inside a gym. And I knew that personal private space would suit them. So, yeah.
You're amazing, Eilis. Honestly, all of those things that you've had to go through, like, I can't even imagine. I've written down here 18 months, because, to know that there's something going on with your child, but you said you weren't aware of what it was for 18 months, and you had brain scans and everything, like honestly,
horrendous.
Absolutely horrendous. And I know we've spoke about this before, your brother in 2019 as well, because I remember seeing something on social media and I was like, I think there's a picture of him up in the lodge. Anyway, I have to go and have a look, because they've loads of regular hill walkers. But anyway, as you said, it sounds to me that was like the almost thing to push you into being like, fuck this, I'm going to just take the jump. Yeah. And you said a word there when you were talking about being in the pharmacy for all those years. You said I was comfortable. It was close. It was handy, right? Yeah. And I really relate to that, because when I was teaching, I never hated it. I loved actually teaching. But I just wasn't, I was just, as you said, on autopilot, filling the time, not really enjoying it, and I think that is almost more difficult than being in a job you hate. Because if you're in a job you hate and you're dreading it, you're probably more likely to leave.
It's easier to leave.
It's easier to leave. Yeah. But when you're in a job that's handy, you're used to, comfortable, money coming in, it does take a lot of courage to change. And that's one of the reasons that I asked you on here, because it would have been just so much easier for you just to stay and to do what you always do, get what you always got. But when you were... Because when I was thinking, Jesus, 30 years in one career, it almost becomes part of your identity. Eilish, the woman who works in the
local pharmacy, everyone knows it. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you were, I suppose, thinking about, Jesus, you know what, I might give this PT a bash, were you, what were your thoughts at the time? Were you afraid of the opinions of others? Were you afraid of failing? And
all of that, falling flat on your face. The fear, first of all, of making the leap. Will I be able for it? Will I be able to study? I think it was 12 years since I had done the technician pharmacy course. At my age, brain fog was a real thing. Will I be able to retain information to pass exams? And then the embarrassment of, if I do try it and it doesn't work. And especially, I suppose, when I launched the business, and, I still do have little private social media accounts, but I was launching this public account. For me, at my age, was huge. Again, you're putting yourself out there. What if I fall flat on my face? The embarrassment. And then stepping into that classroom, I was the oldest there. A lot of them were my twins' age, like the lads' age. So I was like the mammy of the group. But I just was like, put the head down. Now, it was a short, intensive course that I did. Like a lot of PT courses, I think, are done nearly over 2 years, some 1 year.
Yeah.
Mine was so intensive. It was done over 8 weeks, and then you have your exams at the end. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I had left the pharmacy at that stage, so I was able to spend every single minute studying. I just knuckled down. I had an idea in my head and I wanted to get to the end. But that classroom situation for me was petrifying. Like, it was just, again, the embarrassment of being the old one going in, all these young minds that are able to retain information, even down to like asking a question in class, things that I would have always told my kids, always put your hand up, don't be afraid of asking questions. I was embarrassed, like, will I seem like I'm a stupid old woman if I ask that question, But I suppose the other side of that is the maturity of knowing what you want. I was there to knuckle down and, try my best to pass these exams. Whereas I could see a lot of the younger ones were maybe not totally dedicated to it, so but it was totally terrifying, And even I questioned myself even during that course many, many times, what the hell have I done?
That course, Jesus, in 8 weeks, that must have been intense, because
huge.
the PT course that I did, was over a year. But I remember thinking, especially the anatomy kind of section to it. Now, because I came from my
teaching.
I was a biology teacher. I studied neuroscience. It was all very biology heavy. I knew everything, right?
Okay.
But I had obviously made friends with people there, and they were like, what the fuck? Like very, very in detail.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine doing that over 8 weeks along with everything else and your exam. So Jesus, I'd say that was very, very intense.
It was intense, I mean, I remember saying, I only want to be a PT. I don't want to be a doctor. It's only now that I'm working in it that you realise how important it is that you know your body parts and you know the internal workings of the body. There would have been a tiny bit of crossover with the pharmacy course that I did, but as I said, that was 12 years ago. But and then when I got my exams, I wasn't totally shocked that I got them. I knew coming out of them, obviously, that it went better than I thought. But coming up to them, I was very unsure. Jesus, like, am I going to get this? And if I don't, will I go back again?
Yeah.
All that question. And then that was the October. And then I was like, should you know what? I'll take the rest of the year off and have a think about what I'm going to do when I launch. But at the end of that course, they did a start your own business course for those that were interested in going out on their own. And I came out of that with a fire lit in me.
Okay, love that.
Yeah,
That's such a good idea to do at the end of a course like that.
Yeah.
Because as you said, so many people, and I've heard of so many, they're like, they get the qualifications and then they spend 6 months like trying to create this perfect business plan, when in reality, nobody has a fucking clue.
There is no perfect. Yeah, exactly.
You just learn as you go.
Yeah, and as I said, if I don't act in the moment, I'm an all or nothing type of person, always have been. So I felt if I maybe had have waited till that new year, I might have questioned myself further and gone, do you know what, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And, with the fire lit in me that day with the start your own business, one of the organisers took me aside at the end. And when I said I had my private space, we set up the gym at home in lockdown because we were all gym goers and missed it. So the gym was there, ready to go. And he was like, what are you waiting for? Yeah. So, went for it, and so thankful to say that I haven't looked back. Like, I really haven't looked back.
I love that. And the reason I was asking you all these questions is because I think when we hear other stories of how Eilish wasn't this super confident gym goer who just decided, you know what, I'm going to set up, everyone looks at people externally and they've absolutely no idea of the
internal struggles
that you've got to get there. And I think for so many people, a lot of them are successful on paper. So everyone would have looked at you, Eilish, working in the pharmacy.
Years. And,
all of these different things. So I think externally people may look successful, but for a lot of people, they're either feeling unfulfilled, as you and I both already talked about, or stuck. They know they're not happy. They want to make a change, but they don't know what to do. And I think the answer is nobody does.
No.
Just try it anyway, But I think you know, people don't. I think so many people don't. And you mentioned the word failure a lot, and I did as well, because so many people have this fear of one, failing and falling flat in your face.
Yeah.
I think even worse too, what will everyone else say?
Yeah,
You know,
what do you think?
what do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you, all of this, you
Yeah.
know. But I think by staying and living a life where you're unfulfilled in your job, because how, like, it's a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
It's your job. You're working fucking how many hours a week in this thing?
Yeah.
I think by not trying and not either succeeding or failing, because if you fail, you still just tweak and you go again.
Yeah.
It's, you know, failure shows you the way by showing you what isn't the way. It's necessary for success.
Yeah.
So I think for all of those many people who don't try, they're failing by default.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's why I think your story is so powerful. Not only can you give us a lot of, you know, advice and wisdom around the female health aspect of it, I think your actual story of making the change. So I was going to say so late, but 48 now. I'm like, I'm fucking not too far away. That's only early. Do you know what I mean? But
late for someone that was in one job for so long,
exactly.
I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, it is never too late. And if anything, like, it gives you confidence. The trying gives you confidence.
Yeah.
You know, even now when I look back at being that oldest person in that classroom, that gave me a bit of confidence after the fact.
Yes.
I still had to push myself to stay there because on that first day when I went in, after paying for the course, after going, oh, for fuck's sake, oh my, I'm not going to like this, I hate this, I want to go, you know, but pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is so important on so many levels. And the rewards it can reap from it, you know, it just, like, if I could give one piece of advice even to my younger self, you know, it's that self-doubt, isn't it? If you could just kind of dampen that down a bit and just say, just try it. Just don't think any further than just try it and see how you go. Like, you know.
And I think as well, right, you said self-doubt there. I've started to kind of change my relationship with this in terms of the self-doubt bit, right, almost tells you that you actually are headed in the right direction. Do you get what I mean by that? Because you mentioned there the comfort zone. I thoroughly believe, and I always talk about it, like nothing grows there because it's familiar. It's what you've always done, so you get what you always got.
Yeah.
Any change requires you to step outside of that. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have self-doubt. But for me, I almost think when I'm like, fuck, how am I going to do this? Have I taken the right step? I say, Kellie, those thoughts are actually an indicator that you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're there even by the very fact of being there, of questioning yourself. Yes.
Yeah. And I think as well, to come back to kind of the whole point we're making in terms of, you know, changing, taking the jump, the unknown, questioning yourself. I think, one, there's a cost to change, right? Which we've talked about.
Yeah.
All of those things. Not only the self-doubt and the fear, but also, you know, things like financial uncertainty, the unknown. So there's a cost to taking a change and going for what you want. But there's also a cost of not doing it and a cost of staying the same. So what do you think the cost would have been for you hadn't you done this? Like, can you imagine what your life would look like? Or, you know, I get from you that you fucking love your job. Do you know what I mean? And it gives you so much.
Yeah.
So, like, what would the cost have been of staying?
Yeah. When I think now, like, it's really given me a new lease of life. And it's only since I've started and it's, you know, I've done it and it's obviously become successful. But I really, like, people have asked me this in the meantime, and I was kind of feeling a little bit invisible. And I think a lot of women feel that, you know, like, I was in this job that I didn't even have to engage my brain about anymore. I'd lost complete interest in it. And even at home, because the kids were finding their own way in life. Now, my daughter was still, you know, she was only, 12 was she at the time. So she obviously still needed me, but I feel for women especially, they become a little bit invisible to everyone around them, the kids as well, everyone. And certainly in my job in the pharmacy, I just felt like, you know, I was just invisible would be the word I'd use. So when I think now of, and the difference now that I am, well, the difference in my own life, for me primarily, but the difference I'm making in the women's lives that I'm working with, you know, like, that's amazing. You know, to come out of your working day with that sense of, God, Like, I'm so happy that they're leaving me happy, you know. Just wasn't getting that from what I was doing.
The word invisible, it's fucking so powerful because it explains exactly how so many women feel. And I've been honest on this podcast before, and I always am, that I didn't really understand that, honestly, before I had kids, right? And I used to get people, so I get them to fill in an in-depth questionnaire. So I get to know them as a person before we start working together, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of women used to say, when I had started this, my business up, because we didn't have the girls at the time, they used to say on it, you know, I used to say, what's your goal? And blah, blah, blah. And they'd say, I feel lost. I feel lost and I want to find myself again. I think the word invisible really highlights that. You almost feel like you're just on autopilot and there's no real meaning to life and nothing really brings you joy. So I think that's so important that you changing your career gave you, as you said, a new lease of life. I love that. And you mentioned about women when they come to you and, you know, helping them feel better. You've gone from, you know, pharmacy to coaching women every day, basically. So what are some of the biggest problems that you see along with this feeling invisible, along with this, you know, maybe I feel lost and I'm trying to find myself again, but what are some of the biggest things women come to you saying?
I suppose, especially in, you know, in an exercise setting or gym setting, like there's a lot of joint issues with perimenopause, you know, a lot of workouts do have to be adjusted for them. And in big commercial gyms, they can't be, you know, in that setting. So that's where, again, they want to get started, but I have all these joint pains or issues with my body and I'm going into that big commercial gym setting. I can't pull that trainer aside and say, but I have this, this and this. And that's what I wanted to be able to give them, that chance of, you don't have to stay away. We can come to me and we'll work around it. You know, it can be adjusted. So, you know, we just need a little bit of special care in our workouts as we age, as our hormones make a difference to our joints. And the longer women leave it, the harder it is for them to make that step to exercise, because you're in a catch-22. Feeling shit, I've all these pains and aches, I can't go to a gym. But the longer you put it off, the worse they're feeling. Like the amount of women now with me that say, oh my God, my joint pain has gone. Like the benefits and the knowledge we're now learning, you know, the research that has gone into women's health now, that is telling us that this is what we need to do from the age of 35, 36. We're losing muscle, we're losing bone density. And this is most important, is we now know strength training will help us maintain it and actually build it back up. And that's what I wanted to concentrate on, you know, get them through the door, let them find that you know, benefits that strength training will give them. And then they'll keep it going, even if it's not with me or whatever setting. You know, if I can give them confidence to take it forward, brilliant. If they stay with me, amazing. But women just need, you know, a lot, you know, slight adjustments in workouts. What worked for us in our 20s, early 30s doesn't work anymore. And that's where we need the, you know, the specialisation, I suppose, and the concentration. So that's, I suppose, one of the main things that I had in my head starting off. And I suppose nobody can offer advice like a person going through it themselves. You know,
so true. I wrote down going through themselves, because I always talk about that. Actually, I always use, you know, climbing a mountain or whatever. If you were going to do this big challenge, would you ask someone for advice who's done it or someone who's read a book on doing it? You know, like there's wisdom you gain by going through something. And I haven't been through menopause, perimenopause, so I don't even know to the extent. And it's individual, isn't it? Everyone feels different. But I think what's really special about you, and you've mentioned this a few times, is when you're, you know, the age that you are coming into perimenopause, menopause, you want to be with someone and you want to feel comfortable. And I think that's what you bring. It's like, you know, you're almost bringing them into your home and like, we can
looking
do this.
them.
And they're not getting lost in the system, you know. You have this confidence in your 20s and in your 30s to get into a gym first, some people. But as you age, as you said, you're kind of caught in a catch-22 where you're almost limiting yourself because of your age, but that's going to make it worse. So it's just
Yeah.
getting in there. And I think you provide us such a good service for women to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But you already highlighted there, I want to chat a little bit about the really important things, or the most important things that women need to focus on. I think I have a few ideas that I want to bring to this as well, but I think majority of the things that we'll talk about, yes, are really important for menopausal women, but also just women in general. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, it's across the board.
Yeah.
But you did mention strength training.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, maintains muscle mass and bone density. So strength training is so important. And as you mentioned, the research, it's so important for women's health.
Yeah.
But I think more specifically as we age, because we want to prevent, the falls. As we age.
Breaking bones.
Yeah.
All of that. We were talking beforehand, and as I said to you, how many of us remember grannies breaking hips, or, my own mum has broken a hip. And it's all now we know it's because from the age of 35 on, our bones are losing density. Like, it's so scary, to think that, women of that generation, my mum is in her late 80s, and women of that generation didn't know, their estrogen was depleting. It's all hormonal based as well. When our estrogen depletes, that's making a huge difference in our bodies as well. So it opens us up to all those things, bones breaking, osteoporosis. That's where our protein comes in, our strength training comes in. Like, it's so important for us. I mean, if you do nothing else, strength train. And if you don't know where to begin, just touch base with any professional, and just get started. Like, there is no perfect day to do it. There's no perfect time. It doesn't have to be a Monday. Just if it's something you're thinking about, I promise you it'll be life-changing. Like, that's the one thing. And for all girls, and I suppose at least girls of a younger age now, the knowledge that is being put into, the research that's being put into women's health now is going to be there for our daughters.
Yes, so good, isn't it?
Yeah. So prevention is the best. So they hopefully will already be doing it. I know my daughter's in a gym. I've had her in a gym. She was in a little kids program. Then she went up into a teen program. She's in a commercial gym now herself, with her friends. So, but I hope that's the way our girls are going to grow up. Strong, not skinny.
Yes.
All of this. And it's all of that diet culture that would have been back in the day, in my day, Weight Watchers, all of that. Like, we were doing so much harm to ourselves, depleting ourselves of nutrition, depleting our bones when they needed it, our muscles, So knowledge is power. In every walk of life, knowledge is power. And I'm hoping that what's happening now in women's health will make a difference going forward. And the earlier they start, the better, but it's never too late. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever too late.
Ever.
We can stop things happening. We can make things better. And you just need to start, and it's just, hormones make such a difference. Like, women's confidence can be completely depleted. Women that were once well are suddenly like a shadow of their former selves. They're, they've completely changed. Exhaustion kicks in. They're not sleeping. So they're never, like, it's harder than ever to make this change and to start exercising if you never did. But I think the more people that are out there shouting it from the rooftops, I'm here to help, touch base. And like you helped me even to direct people in the right direction, that's just so important.
So important.
Yeah.
And you mentioned prevention there, which I think is brilliant because, and I hope the same as what you just said, that because of all the knowledge that is coming out about the importance of resistance training for, as we were saying, muscle maintenance and building and bone density, which then has a knock-on effect to our health span, how long we can live independent, really. Yeah. Because all of this knowledge is coming out, our girls are going to understand the importance of it, so they're going to hopefully focus on it. Whereas your mother, my granny, that kind of generation just hadn't got a clue. And you mentioned there, we were talking about before we press record, just, I suppose, the stats on it. And I was looking it up last night, and I always knew, right, that resistance training increased health span. So how long you could live independent.
Yeah.
When I looked it up, I was like, what the fuck? It's absolutely
mind-blowing, isn't it?
Mind-blowing. Some of the bits that I got there, I was saying to you, 1 in 3 adults over 65 fall each year, right? So 1 in 3 over 65, 20 to 30 of those who fracture a hip, because that's usually the big kind of downfall, you know.
Area where you hit.
You hit. 20 to 30 of those die within the first year of the hip fracture. 50% never regain previous level of mobility. 40% can never walk independently again. 25% require long-term nursing home care. And I honestly didn't know it was that
scary,
you know. Yeah. Also, it said as well that regular training reduces injury causing falls by 26%. Massive. And this is what we're talking about, you know, not only the prevention of the falling, because when you're resistance training, you're improving joint health. So therefore your balance, your mobility is better. So you're not only reducing the risk of falling, but if you do fall, your bounce back ability, your resistance to it is massively increased. And the kind of work that I'm doing with my clients and you do with your clients that I think is so important is, you know, understanding that muscle strength is one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging. Healthy aging. And it's not a case that, you know, we're trying to live as long as possible. No. I hate that shit about
live as well, isn't it, as possible.
Exactly.
No, the length of the years doesn't matter. The quality of the years matters.
The quality of the years matters, absolutely. And, you know, people rarely live to an age, you know, where what I'm trying to say is that they rarely lose the quality of years basically due to their age. It's actually due to a loss of strength and a loss of mobility as they age. And this is what you're bringing to it.
And it's, you know, obviously some women still come to me wanting to lose weight, but the vast majority of them are now, we're working for longevity. And how, you know, I talk about it all the time at the gym, how we end up looking as a result of the exercise we're doing is the bonus. It's the cherry on the top. But we're working for longevity. We're building our muscles so that we can live as long as independently as possible independently. We can tie our own shoelaces. We can get up and down off the loo, you know, in and out of the car without needing assistance. That's the goal. That is the goal. And if we fall, that we're bouncing back up. I slipped on the stairs relatively recently, half asleep coming down in the morning, and slipped in my slippers and I bounced back. Now, pure fluke, I'd say, but fluke somewhat, but as the way I fell, the way I landed. But in those few seconds where I went down about 6 steps, I said to myself, shit, something's going to break here. And I didn't. Now, it's not coincidental. I'd say 1,000,000% it's because I've been strength training since my mid-30s. That in itself, you know, if I'd have broken a limb, you know, and my job depends on me being physically active. So that's what we're working for. You know, it's the goals change. And I think the feeling that women that are waiting to get into me, when they get into me, they're going, oh my God, like if we could bottle this and sell it.
Why didn't I do it sooner?
That buzz that they feel off it, the feeling of I can tackle anything now, and how they look just goes. It's no longer important. They're feeling amazing. And before they know it, 2 months in, they're fitting into clothes they didn't once fit into. The scales has gone no longer existing. Which for me is a win. You know, huge. For us who grew up with a number, that number is so important. It's not. Nobody sees the number, only you. So if we can move away from that, you know, and that's another, you know, what I wanted to concentrate on going forward as well. You know, just, it'll happen. But that aesthetic, how you look, is the thing that's built over time. I keep saying it's a marathon, not a sprint. Just get started, you know. And for those women, I do a group class. Now, at the moment, I only do it once a week because I do PT the rest of the week. But, you know, women in that class will say to me, I have friends who are saying, oh, how often do you do your group class? And they'll say, I only do it once a week. Oh, sure, that's no good. I'll wait till I can do something 3 times a week. No, do the once a week and build on that. Just get started, you know, instead of putting it off until the perfect 3 times a week comes up or the perfect situation. It's never going to happen. Just start, you know, and build on that. So
absolutely. And I love that that is your message. Your message has always been, it's not about becoming the smallest version of yourself. It's not about the number on the scale. It's about prioritizing your health, giving your body what it needs. And then, as you said, the weight loss happens, the fitting into the dress happens as a byproduct.
Because the more muscle we build, the more lean muscle we build, the more our at rest metabolism goes up.
Yeah.
So we're working more, our body is working off more calories from the time you get up in the morning if you hold more lean muscle.
Yeah, I always chat about this. Like it's really hard for people who've been focusing on the number on the scale to get their head around this, because they're like, I just want the number to go down. So that's how I loved when you said the scale fucking disappears. I had a client come on live with my other clients recently, and she, now fair play to her, she said to me when she first signed up to me, can I not weigh myself? And I was like, hallelujah. Amazing. Right? Because she was like, I just have such a bad relationship. And she allowed me, and I will be actually posting them on my social media today, her photos, you know, of when she started with me to after. And you want to see her body. It's just tight. But she never once weighed in.
Brilliant.
And she'd been with me about 5 months or whatever. But this just showed all of my other clients. Then I'm getting messages being like, do you know what? I think I might fucking get rid of the scale. And I was like, Brilliant. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Because
it was ingrained in us, wasn't it?
It's literally,
we were slaves to a number.
Yeah, literally. The number on the scale dictates how so many women feel about themselves. But as you said, and as I was talking there about the whole, when you build muscle, right? Now, obviously you'll be losing fat if that is a goal. So it kind of balances each other out. But there will be an increase on the scale. But as you said, it's like your, I describe it like this because I think it's a lot easier for people to understand when I say this. When you have a bigger engine, right? So you have more muscle on your body. You require more fuel. You burn more fuel.
Exactly.
So if you had two cars, one is a 1 litre, the other is a 2 litre, they're driving side by side, going to the same place. The 2 litres using more energy because it's a bigger unit.
Yeah,
you
brilliant analogy. Yeah,
but also on the flip side of that, and we'll laugh because we know how this will never happen. You know, to people coming to the gym, women especially coming into the gym or lifting weights, and they're like, one, they're afraid because they've never done it before, and we're saying just get started. But two, you know, I'm afraid I'll get too bulky.
Yeah.
It's like people spend
years and they can't.
Yeah.
Like that kind of bulkiness that they're afraid of getting. Like when I put in my gym at home, when my mum came and saw it for the first time, she was like, oh my God, Eilis, now be careful you don't get too muscly. You know, like those bodybuilders, that takes serious dedication, and like down to like their diet is so specific. Like it's so hard to do. You're never going to get too bulky. So ditch that straight away.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to build any kind of lean muscle, especially over a period of time, you know, over a certain period of time that they might be with us. But when they see the changes, you know, and that is, you know, the real, isn't it, the real bonus of, you know, loving your work and the achievement of, you know, letting people feel that and see it and seeing their progress in the gym. You know, when somebody comes into me afraid of weights, you know, and there's a lot as well. A lot of my clients would be afraid of because they don't know where to start or afraid of doing an injury. Yeah. So when they see their progression right in front of their eyes of lifting heavier weights from where they started, I love that for them. I love that sense of achievement in them. You know, they're on cloud 9. I can do this. And as we spoke about earlier, what that leads to in their life, because you're suddenly more confident in the gym. It doesn't stop there. It spreads to all parts of their life. Something did come into my head there that I was going to say to you as we were talking. It's gone. I'll remember in a minute. There's the perimenopausal brain. Oh, the scales. There you go. See, look. The abyss. I'm picking it out there. The scales for perimenopausal women, even more so. I mean, hormonal weight, fluid weight. Yeah. It's only fluid. And I mean, for people, when I say some women want to weigh themselves, if you're really insisting on weighing yourself, weigh yourself every day for a week or two, and you will see. That's not fat. That fluctuation is fluid hormonally. Day to day, even, not even week to week or depending where we are in our cycle. It's crazy. And no wonder it sends people nuts. Yeah. Because like it just is so disheartening change is happening.
Yeah.
If you trust the process, I always say, if you're with a professional and they're telling you and you're doing what you're told.
Yeah, that's important. You're fucking doing it.
Yeah, that you're not with me 1 or 2 hours a week and then you're going off and doing exactly what I say not to do. Then you're not going to get results. I keep saying how many hours are in a week you're with me for 1 or 2. I can't undo all those hours what you're doing. But if you stick with it, trust the process, it does happen. And it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you're saying there about like the fluctuations, because I always talk to my clients about, you have no idea how the scale actually works in terms of what it's measuring, and you're using it as a measure of self-worth, but you've no idea. Yeah. Like I always say, the scale doesn't tell you how much body fat you have. No. It tells you how much you weigh, and that includes water weight, includes everything. Yeah. So if we had a machine that did measure body fat alone, you'd be laughing, because it would directly tell
very
you.
Specific.
Yeah. A DEXA scan can, but we're not going to be fucking...
We're not going to be putting ourselves through DEXA scan.
So I think it's important that we just realise the limitations. The scale is a very fickle measure of success when you're looking for body fat, because of all these fluctuations. But I think our messages are really important in that, yes, we want to get women to where they want to be in terms of losing weight for their health, gaining muscle for their health. But it's so much more than that. It's about, I suppose, the identity change. And that's the underlying current that we're talking about. Yeah. Women come into you absolutely, afraid of lifting weights and all of these things. And they leave you almost... with a new identity, like, oh, Jesus, I can go to the gym. Yeah. I can do it. Yeah. I'm a healthy person, and that drives then the behaviour.
Yeah, in the rest of their life. Yeah.
It crosses over into the rest of their life. So you mentioned something really important there. Like, I think women think they want weight loss. Yeah. But they don't really.
It's ingrained in us, isn't it?
Yeah. What they're looking for, though, is confidence. Yeah. Is freedom. Yeah. Is... energy, their mood, So yes, you might think the weight loss will solve all the problems, but
it's not really it is the cherry on top, and not even weight loss, but how you end up looking if you stick with it over a long period of time, it's phenomenal how a number can affect people so negatively. And you said about energy, lack of energy in perimenopausal years is a big thing. And to get themselves to a gym, and I mean, even people who have paid to come to me, getting themselves to me is the hardest part. You still have to push. I mean, I love training. I love working out. I'm a different person after, like my family would say to me, oh, you didn't work out today, did you not?
Same. Exact same.
Why don't you go to the gym there for an hour? How you feel, you have to expend energy sometimes to build energy. Yeah. Just get yourself to your professional, get yourself to me, get yourself to the gym. And I promise you will feel more energetic. Yes, your body is tired, but you will have more energy for the rest of the day after that.
I love it because energy. You're a fitness professional. I'm a fitness professional. Do we love going to the gym every day?
No, not all the time.
Absolutely not. But as you said, you have to push your way through. Yeah. And when you get there, like when clients are saying to me, oh, I'm so tired or whatever, I'm like, guarantee after the workout you'll be just magically full of energy. It energizes you. It gives you the endorphins feel good factor, but there is like that push. You're not always going to want to. And
that's where your self-motivation, you have to have a little bit just to get yourself there for us to be able to work with you.
Yeah, and it becomes easier as well, I think. Do you know, like the more, it's like the identity thing, the more you provide evidence that you are the type of person you say you are, it becomes easier. Yeah. You see progress. I always say that action precedes motivation.
Absolutely.
Like
100%.
Imagine you could sell motivation, you'd be fucking the richest people in the world, but you can't. You need to take action, even when you want to. Then when you take action, you see results. Yeah. And when you get results, you see motivation. So it's almost like the loop starts with action. And 99% of the time, you won't want to take the action, but you have to fucking do it anyway.
Yeah. And then the motivation comes. Yeah. Expend energy to build energy.
Love it.
100%. Like, I mean, Jesus, like since the boys got sick and, what happened in my life, I then went on to suffer with insomnia and stuff like that. So I'm not a good sleeper. That's another story. I have a book in there somewhere, Kellie. Had to go for insomnia therapy. through it. They developed a sleep disorder and I developed insomnia. Look, as the specialist said to me, it'd have been a miracle if you didn't. I mean, you had a newborn baby as well and you were up in the middle of the night. So when the boys first went on their nighttime medication, it's a short-acting one and they have to take it in the middle of the night. So myself and my husband used to take turns setting the middle of the night alarm and you get up and give it to him. So anyway, out of all that, so I, by nature, am a very tired person most of the time.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes, once I've done my warm-up, I can feel it. I can feel the chemical reaction in my brain.
Yeah.
It's lifting. I come out of that gym a far nicer person than I went in, you know, and that's where it became my lifesaver. And that's what I want to spread to other women, you know. And if you can find, look at, aren't we winning if we find exercise as our saviour?
Yes, the lesser of a lot of evils. Yeah.
So just, you know, that message of get yourself there. Like we can never do that for them.
Yeah.
You know, we can, you know, they can pay for a course of sessions and that will keep most coming, but some of them will still go, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm tired today. You're going to be tired most days.
I love it. I fucking
Just
love
get
it.
there.
You're gonna
just get there. Are we ever going to not be tired?
So,
like,
I always say, like, who doesn't have a busy life? I've never met someone to tell me, do you know what? No, I've loads of time. Everyone's fucking flat to that, you know. I love that. Like, you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you had insomnia. That's mental. One of the things I wanted to chat to you actually about, you know, women's health and specifically perimenopausal, menopausal women is the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think general life, even if you aren't, but more so if you are, because it does affect your sleep quality and stuff like that.
Yeah. So insomnia is a big thing in perimenopausal years, but mine was as a result of what had happened to my kids, really. It was stress related. And because there's so many messages out there everywhere, we all see them all the time. Sleep is so important. That became such a thing for me that I then couldn't sleep because I thought so much about sleep.
Yeah.
Like my adrenaline, my cortisol was raised, my adrenaline was raised coming into, like, my daughter was a very young baby at that stage. So coming into her bedtime, I was already getting anxious about, I'm not going to sleep tonight. And of course you're not going to sleep. Now all that had to be unravelled. I wasn't aware of it at the time. It was then when I went for insomnia therapy, it's cognitive behavioural therapy, and they undo all this.
Wow.
And again, it's not that... It's extremely hard because it's not a quick solution. Yeah. So, I mean, I tried sleeping tablets over the years and they worked for a time and then they stopped working. So cognitive behavioural therapy takes time. Again, I said I'm an all or nothing type of person. So my GP had said to me, I'm convinced this will work for you, Eilis, because you are an all or nothing type of person. If you stick with it, trust the process, it does work. Now it took, I think, a good 6 weeks before you start to see the benefits. And it gets, like, when they take you on, they tell you it'll get worse before it gets better. But you have to stick with it. And I was rock bottom in my sleep when, I mean, getting very, very little in them days, existing on fumes. This is while I was still in pharmacy and stuff. So look, you know, sleep issue in perimenopausal years, what I would say is, you know, it is important. We all know sleep is important, but try not get hung up on it.
Yeah.
You know, I got so hung up on that message of you'll end up sick if you don't sleep. Yeah. You know, that was one of my big fears. Yeah, I'm going to end up sick and I have young children and now I can't sleep because I'm going to end up sick. And, you know, it's a vicious circle. So, yes, we all know sleep is important. Certain individuals can function on very little sleep. I'm one of them. Yeah. And I have proved that. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm very rarely sick. So if you aren't sleeping and you're perimenopausal, it's not the end of the world. You can exist. Yeah. You know, again, you'll always be exhausted because you're not sleeping. Just do the thing. Do it and don't let that tiredness stop you.
And I also think as well, right, you were saying there about perimenopausal and stuff. I was listening to a podcast before and it's like our biology adjusts to the situation, and they give an example around childbirth and having young kids, and it's almost like your body knows it's going to fucking struggle for the next X amount of years and we can do it for then. Yeah. But nothing really lasts forever. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I started looking at it like this, like, because I was like, Mo, why didn't anyone tell us? It was so difficult, No, or we did not have great sleepers. And we...
You didn't or you do?
Didn't.
Okay.
No. And my sister's like...
Normal.
Has the same... And she knows because I always give her stick. But my sister has a girl the same age as our girls.
Ah, lovely.
And she used to always say, but my little daughter slept since the age of 6 and I'm here
no.
like...
Stop telling me that.
Yeah.
Shut up.
But I remember listening to that podcast and I was like, it kind of gave me that, as you were saying, that sense of like, if you concentrate on it, it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And when I heard that conversation, I was like, oh yeah, like it's going to be fucking hard and sleep is going to be affected clearly because you have 2 babies for the next number of years, but it won't be forever. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But also, let's be honest, like doing the thing about going to the gym, like I always say this to people, for the majority of people as well, they could be better in terms of, you don't have to watch the 6 episodes of the Netflix.
Yeah.
I think really important is trying to develop a regular bedtime routine.
Huge.
The research on the regularity of bedtime is now emerging even more important than the number of hours getting to bed on time, because it does affect the next day. Like I always call sleep with my clients the force multiplier, right? And what I mean by that is when you get a good night's sleep, everything else is easier.
Yeah.
Because your mood is better, your energy is better, therefore your food choices, going to the gym, getting your steps in.
Yeah.
So that we can all be a bit better.
Yeah.
And it is hard to say to people, work on your sleep, because I do get that you've young mothers, you've perimenopausal, menopausal women.
Yeah.
But it's just about trying to, like the gym, be a bit better.
Habits.
Each time. Habits.
And it is that when I speak about cognitive behavioural therapy, a lot of that is built around habits, good habits. It's tools that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. So one of the things was my nighttime routine. I was getting myself all this anxiety building up into I'm not going to sleep. So I need a wind down time at night time. I need to come off my phone. Super important. I mean, we're all scrollers. I mean, I am the worst in the world. I'll sit with my phone in my hand and look at the telly past it.
Yeah.
And the telly is supposed to be my wind down time. So put the phone away at least an hour before your bedtime and have that as your wind down. Get up, take your makeup off or whatever you do, get into your PJs at that time. Have that hour to unwind. For me, watching telly is for me unwinding, reading a book. But I have favourite programmes and that's when I watch them. So watching the telly for me without my phone in my hand. Yeah. Super important. Regular bedtime. Super important. Regular getting up time. Super important. Yeah. These were all taught to me and this is what I pass on to people now. Another thing is the 8-hour thing. I was concentrating a lot on that. Yeah. We don't all need 8 hours. Yeah. We're not all the same. We're not robots. So some of us need less, some of us need more. Yeah. So you will find out what works optimally for you and don't concentrate on the number of hours. I used to count clock watching.
Yes.
I have to now leave my watch away from me, leave my phone where I'm not clock watching. I used to count back. That's another hour less sleep I'm having now. Now I have to be up in 5 hours. Now that's another hour less. Of course, you're not going to wind down and go to sleep. Yeah. Little things that you learn work for you. Like if I wake during the night, I lie there for a bit, try and do a bit of breathing. If that doesn't work, I try and say things in my head like, counting back from 4 while you're breathing. Yeah. And if that doesn't put me off to sleep, then I might switch on a light and read a bit of my book. Yeah. But I do things before that because the light generally then wakes me up more. But again, and it's easier said than done, it's not panicking about not sleeping. The more you don't panic, the more likely you are to sleep. So yeah, bad habits, definitely. We can help ourselves.
That is gold. Honestly, that is so good because you've taken it away from, which I love, you're aiming for this specific hour. And it's like the weight on the scale. You're aiming for this specific thing, but it's almost making you worse. Yeah. Focus and fixating on the actual number.
On the number.
So you mentioned really cool things there that I've been looking into a lot of sleep studies and stuff lately because, it's something that I'm really interested in. But what you've just said there is what I've been finding. As I said, more importantly than the number of hours you're getting is having a regular bedtime, regular wake time, putting your phone and your watch. I love that. I never thought about that. Putting the watch away if you're
a clock watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the you were saying there about the importance of your phone away for the at least an hour before you go sleep. I've been chatting to my clients recently about 3 things that will change your life. No phone first hour of the morning, because give yourself a bit of peace before you expose yourself to the madness of what's going on in the world. Last hour in the day, revolutionize your sleep. And meal times.
Yeah.
Put the phone away, because it helps you be present with your food. So there's a knock-on effect to the no phone thing.
There is.
But with sleep, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I put my phone on top of the microwave at 8 o'clock in the evening.
Brilliant.
And I don't touch the phone. It doesn't come to my bedroom. I don't touch the phone after that.
That's amazing.
And it changes the
life
game.
Changing.
Me and Mo actually talk. We're like, oh Jesus, how are you? Like,
because
do you know what I mean?
Phones are brilliant and they have revolutionized a lot of our lives, but there definitely is a downside to them. Like, there really is.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. And we don't talk as much to each other in person because of them. I mean, you see now in my daughter's school, there's a no phone policy and they go into a locked, magnetized wallet, which means they're conversing with each other. They're looking at each other and conversing, which is basic life skills.
So true.
Like, they go out into the world for interviews and stuff and they have to learn how to make eye contact with people. So, putting it away at night, like, and first thing in the morning, life changing. Like, the amount of people that reach out and before they're even before they're fully awake, you're submersed in
the
social media and scrolling and doom scrolling, and before you even get out of the bed, you know, like, so little habit building things that can change your life, you know, and all these things, you know, I know we're obviously PTs and we, you know, that's our job, but even, you know, giving women these life tools, you know, that can be life changing even before they come to us, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, couldn't agree more. We've talked about this being women's health and very specific towards kind of menopausal, perimenopausal women. I think the strength training, we kind of talked a little bit about protein, which is so important as well. Yeah. And then the sleep, which is really important. The last thing, I think, and we mentioned it kind of, but is managing stress, right? Because as we said, right, busy women, usually moms, here, there, everywhere, putting ourselves last. So we're already living a pretty stressful life. Yeah. Next minute, perimenopause, menopause, adding to the stress load. So and your cortisol will naturally rise in those years because estrogen and progesterone are depleting.
Are lowering, yes.
And that's
up to that point, that's what has kept our cortisol, helped keep our cortisol in check. So they're going out the window. So your cortisol is naturally raised. So you need to learn stress relief tools, whatever that may be for you. If it's a walk. And I think it's important as well to say that our movement every day, regardless, strength training is on top of that. You still need to get those steps in. You still need to move. You know, that's our lean burn. That's our movement in behind our workouts. Walking, some kind of movement every single day. Stress relief. It's an amazing stress reliever. Workouts are an amazing stress reliever. The coffee first thing in the morning. I've spoken about that on my page. Not a great thing. Now, it's not going to, don't get panicked over. It's not going to be, if you're already losing fat and changing your body, if you are having coffee on an empty stomach, keep going. It's not going to change you. It's not going to suddenly stop you losing fat. But if you are a person who's starting on their journey and you're in your perimenopausal years, your cortisol when you wake up in the morning is naturally high in all of us.
Okay.
So our estrogen is going out the window, so we've no estrogen to bring it back down. So maybe stave off, if you can push out the coffee a little bit until you've eaten, not have it on an empty stomach, that will help. Fresh air will help. Exercise will help. Whatever, if reading a book helps, you just need to learn stress relievers. You need to manage your stress. It's super important. Our cortisol, as I said, has nothing to keep it in check anymore. Obviously, if you're on HRT, that's another conversation. It's very individual and people's circumstances. That's going to help, you know. But you need to have some kind of stress relief. Build it into your day. We're all busy, but build, if it's minutes, if it's 10, 20 minutes of fresh air or a walk or something that relieves your stress, make it a priority. The house will wait. everything else will wait. I mean, an investment in ourselves, which it's for our future, it's for our kids' future. Because if we're looking after our bodies now and our stress and our heads, we're ultimately investing in their future, because we're pushing out when they might need to look after us, you know. And we're nicer people for them. If we're less stressed, you know, when they come to us for help, we can help them, you know. So whatever it is that you need to do it, make it a priority. As I said, it doesn't have to be an hour. It can be minutes. Just do something that relieves your stress, that you know relieves it. And the cortisol is naturally higher in perimenopausal years, it's key to say. Yeah,
it's so important, because as women, we tend to put ourselves to the back of the line and never give ourselves any time. And it just makes it worse, because as you said, like, I love that you mentioned, you know, you're there for your kids more because you're balanced and you're, you know, so we think, oh geez, we couldn't spend that time on ourselves, but actually it makes things easier because you're a nicer person. You feel better in yourself, you know, that kind of way.
You feel more able to be present and more able to do things that are required of you. Yeah, and I think as well, something really important you mentioned, both of us know the benefit of exercise. You were saying people know if you don't train. Same with me. I was like, Jesus, will you get out for a run? Do you know what I mean? But regardless of whether you enjoy it or not, there is no downside to exercise. No. I genuinely believe that mental health, and that includes stress and stuff, needs physical support. 100%. Everybody, as you said, should be out walking, should be out moving their body in fresh air, should be training, not only for their body, but how it makes them feel in terms of stress management, mental health, benefits, all of these things. 100%. I have a couple more questions for you, Eilis, but I absolutely love this because you're just so relatable. You're so down to earth. You are giving advice, you know, having been through the process. And I think that is invaluable. But a lot of women will have, and we've already kind of touched on them, will have these self-limiting beliefs. I can't do that because I'm perimenopausal. I can't do that because I'm too old. I don't have time. Jesus, I couldn't do that, could I? And you mentioned earlier, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I always use the example of, you know, and myself included. There was one time in my life that I genuinely never, it would be so far from what I thought I could do. And I'm talking about, running a marathon. So back when I was in my early 20s, I struggled with my weight, I struggled with my self-confidence, all these things. And if someone had told me then, Kellie, you'll run a marathon, I would have said, you are messing. So far from the truth, right? And I just use that as an example. I ran many marathons, right? But what I'm trying to get across is, the very first time I crossed that finish line for the marathon, that no longer held me back. And it would never had the capability or the power to hold me back because I had broken through that glass ceiling. And for me, self-limiting beliefs are glass ceilings. They only exist until you realize that they can be broken, until you break through that barrier. Absolutely. And so many people have these self-limiting beliefs. So do you see this shift? And we've kind of already talked about it before, but do you see this shift in women from the moment they come into you feeling like self-conscious, I couldn't do this, to like a couple months down the line? What is the change in them? They're now, you know, I can't fucking do this, you know? It's literally that. It goes from I can't to knowing I can, you know? And I mean, I still get women, I have a lot of clients who stayed with me, you know, who are with me since the beginning and still with me. Love that. Which is unusual, I think, in the PT world, but I definitely think it's the space we have, you know, that's working for us. And I still have one or two of them in every new program I give them. I can't do that. Now, listen to yourself, watch when you can. And she does it. And then you're going, see? So that can and can't. And I think hormonal changes in women depletes their confidence. You know, it furthers that glass ceiling thing of, sure, I'd never be able to do that. And we all think everyone else lives in this perfect world. And I think social media feeds into that. Sure, like, she's good at everything. Sure, she can do that. No, like, we all have our insecurities. Even down to, I did a post recently about wearing shorts. Like, everybody is so insecure about their own legs. They're not looking at your legs, just wear them, you know. there's so many confidence issues for women, especially as we come into the hormonal changes in perimenopause. So when they start seeing that they can do what they once thought they couldn't, and it changes their whole thinking in everything in life, you know, even something small as in outside the gym. Oh, well, maybe I'll give that a go now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'll start going. Like for women, a lot of my women who came to me first for PT, they were like, oh, I could never do a group class. They're now in my group class as well as my PT, you know. So even giving them the confidence to step into a group class where they're strength training, knowing that they'd be able to. And I keep saying you're not in competition with anyone else. You're in competition with your previous self.
So true.
If you can improve on where you were this time last week, last month, last year, you're winning.
Yeah.
Nobody else, just ourselves, you know, and stop looking back. Just look forward. You know, this thing of why didn't I come to you sooner? I've wasted all those. No, you're here now. So let's improve on that going forward and just draw a line and stop thinking what you shoulda, coulda, woulda done, you know.
I think that's brilliant. That's something that I do with my clients as well. When they come through my coaching and all of the change in identity and beliefs and behaviours and all of these things, a lot of the older clients, older women will say, Jesus, I've wasted so many years of my life. And I always say, there's some people who go their whole life never having done this work on them.
Exactly.
So you're ahead of the curve, you know?
Yeah. And you know that thing that you see on social media, you know, you might be slow, but aren't you winning the people who haven't left yet or who are still sitting on the sofa, you know?
I love it.
No matter how slow you are or no matter how long it takes you to get there, you're winning.
You're moving.
You're winning when you get it, when you get there. When you start, you're winning.
Yeah. Right, Eilis, I have one last question for you. This has been, I've just seen what time it is and I'm like, again,
told
press
you I
record.
could talk for Ireland.
Press record and you're like, how has that been an hour already? But you have completely changed your career, right? Now you spend your days changing the lives of other people and helping them improve their health. But for somebody listening to this, I already think that someone who feels stuck or whatever will get so much benefit off the back of this conversation. But let's say there's someone listening to this and they're feeling stuck in, doesn't matter, career, their body, their identity, their life in some aspect. What would you say to them, or what would you want them to know if you could give them 1, 2, whatever pieces of advice? What would you say to get them moving?
I'd say reach out to someone like I did to you. Reach out, you know, even if you've no intention of going to that person for business, you know, we're the same. We're not just out for business. We're out to help people. So anything we can do to help people, just reach out to someone. That would be the first thing. And the second thing would be, you are never too old. You know, I mean, if they could have been in my brain when I first did this, you won't be able to, you can't. Oh my God, what are you doing? Oh my God, you're too old. Just do it. If it's something that's on your mind and you've been thinking about it, try it. Just try it. Make the move. What's the worst that can happen? I know I said to myself, oh my God, say if I fall flat on my face. But, you know, like the worst that can happen is that you're back to where you began.
Absolutely.
You'll never be in a worse situation. You might be back to where you began, but you tried it. You know, you tried it and it's ticked off a list if it's not for you. Try it. Just, you know, for someone stuck in their bodies, not knowing where to begin with exercise, reach out to a professional. Just make that move, make that, you know, I think you might be the same. I get get messages all the time, but I see it's a process. Someone might reach out, make that initial, you know, touch base with me, and then they'll go off. And that same person could come back to you 3-6 months later. Me again, I'm ready now. Or it could be, there could be 3 messages, you know, a month or 2 in between. Now I'm ready. It takes time, but just make that first step.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And come here, I'm going to let you go, but I just wanted to say one thing, right? Before we press record, I was chatting, how's everything going? And you said one word. You said, oh, it's been amazing. You know, it's snowballed and I can't believe how well business is going. And you almost were like, you know, I'm lucky. And you're absolutely not lucky, because nobody knows the work that is required in the background to,
That is true.
one, have the courage to make the change, and two, the work that goes into running a business, a successful business, is insane. And you only know it once you've been through it. So I just wanted to say fair play to you.
Thank
You're an
you.
absolute legend. You're spreading the
Thanks.
good word. And yeah, it's been a pleasure connecting with you, not only in social media, but in real life.
Yeah.
We saw each other actually at Bray.
Yeah, we did on a
before.
walk.
On a walk.
Yeah.
There you go.
Happened to bump into
But
each
Eilis,
other.
thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Look, you've given me, my tiny little business, an amazing opportunity here. And even that day when you answered my question, like for someone as successful as you, it just, thanks so much. So
Amazing.
right back at you. Thank you.
Right, that is it. I've no doubt that you will benefit loads from that conversation. So if you do, make sure, as I say, throw it in the Snapchat, or not in the Snapchat. What even is Snapchat? Where did
Hang
that
on,
go?
I'll ask my children.
Honestly,
I don't know
even
what's
have Snapchat. Throw it in the Snapchat. Throw it in the WhatsApp.
You're down with the kids.
Throw it in the WhatsApp group and pass it on to females that you know needs this advice. And yeah, have that as your one good deed today. So that is it. I will let you go. As always, keep her lit and look after yourself.